happened to all of the people who were saying that Donald Trump was the peacemaker and the peace candidate and would bring peace and would not start any wars?
I think they have been grossly violated in that belief. And I think we're about to see just how grossly violated they've been. If we can trust Pete Hegseth, Petey, amateur, rank amateur, threatening Iran, threatening Al Ansar the Houthis in Yemen. He'll be threatening Russia next if Russia doesn't agree to do everything they want them to do in the Ukraine negotiations. It's preposterous that anyone thought that Trump wasn't warlike in the first place, in my view, because if you're locked in like he's locked in with certain members of the national security complex, the so-called deep state, and you're beholden to people like Miriam Adelson for almost $200 million, you can hardly not be a warmonger, because that's what it's all about. Furthermore, you can't not be a warmonger when you know, and I'm sure Trump's been briefed on this, the American military industrial complex needs roughly $50 billion annually to keep it ticking along happily, to keep its shareholders feeling good, its CEOs getting stock options and so forth, and to keep the production lines open, frankly. So we are a permanent warfare state. We have to have war in order to fuel this $50 billion that goes into the complex. Sometimes much more than that, of course. So we are an empire that will be at war from now until we are destroyed.
Whoa, that was heavy. So, is there any turning back from this? Is there any way out of this, since the United States is trapped in war and trapped in debt?
Let me give you some granular detail to show you just how dangerous this is, not just for the empire itself, but for the people that are in that empire. Take Virginia-class submarines, one of the most deadly weapons we possess. I would argue, as a military officer, it is probably at the top of the hierarchy of those weapons we possess that are essential to our national security. They're almost invulnerable because they hide under the oceans, and it's very difficult to kill them. So what do you do if you're the Congress wanting to earmark as much money as possible for your favorite programs in the current budget drill? Well, you go in and you steal some money from Virginia-class submarines. Where do you steal the money from? Maintenance and repair parts. Now, who have you just threatened? You've not only threatened the security complex of the country, you've also threatened those poor sailors on those boats who aren't going to have boats that are fit to sail in. And when you have a submarine that's not fit to sail in, you're in dangerous company. We know what happens to submarines that go down. They don't usually get resurrected. They don't usually get recovered. This is just a minor little granular detail in how venal we are, from the Congress to the White House to the Supreme Court, you name it.
So we're saying systemic corruption is leading to the collapse of the American empire.
Absolutely. That's a good way of succinctly putting it. And I think I said to a friend the other day, I'm sort of a student of empire. I made that a part of my educational portfolio, if you will. And I've looked at most of them from all the way back 3,000 years ago to the present time, from the Mongol to the Mughal to the Persian to the Eastern Western Roman to the Ottoman. You look at it, they're all gone. Every single one of them is gone. But some of them, like the one based in Constantinople, Byzantium, now Istanbul, the Eastern Roman Empire, lasted a long time, a really long time, because they had some wise leadership and they didn't do things quite as badly as some of the other empires that caused their demise. I think I said to this friend of mine the other day, as a student of empire, I think we're going to go faster than any great empire in the history of the world. 5,000 years of history, hundreds of empires over that history. You had things like the Third Reich, Hitler's empire, which was militarily forged, of course. It didn't last very long at all, but I don't count them in the realm of empires that had endurance and staying power. You had to have a people. You had to have that people largely indebted, if not absolutely enthralled of your empire, like it was said of Rome. Rome might have been terrible, but you wanted to be a Roman citizen because its laws and its roads and its economy and such protected you and gave you a good life. That's the empire that you want to study in terms of the empire today, because you think that the American empire is similar to that. I began to think it's not. I began to think that we are going out. We are going out. We've only been an empire really since 1945. When we woke up from World War II, and everyone in the world that counted was at our feet, our allies and our enemies, we had 51% of the world's gross domestic product. Think of that for a minute. We made half of the world's goods. We made 50,000 airplanes in a single year. We had more boats in the United States Army, not boats, ships in the United States Army than the Navy has today by a factor of 7,000 to 270. We were king of the world, and those who might compete with us were at our feet, destitute. We resurrected Europe with the Marshall Plan. We helped to resurrect Japan, of course, and we brought them back, but it was self-interested bringing them back because we wanted somebody to sell our products to. And we needed some other people in the world who could afford them. From that time, 1945, and really taking off with speed in the 60s and the 70s, we became nothing more than an empire. And since roughly the departure of the last president who knew something about running an empire, H.W. Bush, and embarking on Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and a host of other neophytes, including Barack Obama, I'm sad to say, we have been adrift. And I think, as I said, we may go faster than any large empire in human history. There's one.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a